Hi, and welcome back to the final episode of my St. Baldrick's blog. I really appreciate all the support you guys have been giving so far. As of this taping, we've had over 6,000 visitors, and we're closing in on $1,000 donated so far. So again, I encourage you, if you can, if you have the means, to donate just $10, because that'll go a long way, especially with the numbers we're getting into just raising money for these kids, because they're really special kids, and every dollar counts. So thanks again to everyone who's donated, and I appreciate all your support. One of the things before you get into the episode, I've added highlights from my senior year. Someone created a highlight video and put it on YouTube, so I just kind of figured it wasn't too much work, so I just threw it on my site. So if you want to check that out as well, go right ahead. And in this final episode, it kind of contains a couple of my best moments and a couple of my lowest moments at Notre Dame. So got both spectrums there. But this is going to talk about the Air Force, the Duke, and then finally the Stanford game. So without further ado, here we go. The Air Force game actually was probably, I'd say, one of my top 3 plays I ever made at Notre Dame. And it was on the first punt of the game. It was a plus 50 punt. Plus 50 punts mean that the ball is inside their 50-yard line, so we're going to be kind of trying to pin them inside their 20. And so what there's 3 zones that we use for punting. There's the 1, which is to the left, 2, which is between the hashes, and then 3, which is outside the right hash. And since we were on the left hash, we were going to kick a 1, so we're directly kicking it into the corner. And so knowing that as a gunner, I always release outside because I think that the ball is going to be close to the sideline, ideally. And so initially, when you release on plus 50 punts, you'll beat the visor, and then you'll look up and you'll try to find the ball. And then as soon as you find the ball, you find the returner, because the returner is usually looking to just kill the gunners, because most gunners will keep their heads up in the air and just follow the ball, and that's when they really get laid out. But so I found the returner, I saw he was coming at me, so I tried to give him a soft shoulder that I could run through, and I was able to do that, and I'll never forget seeing the ball bounce. It was almost like it was practice all over again. I remember just kind of laying out and just knocking the ball back, and I ended up laying on my face, and I turn around and I hear the crowd just going crazy, so I knew I kept it out of the end zone. I'll never forget that feeling, just everyone coming over and just patting me on the head, jumping into me, and just hearing the crowd erupt. It was one of the coolest times that I've ever had in Notre Dame, save only maybe the recovered fumble at the Michigan game. But like I said, I'll never forget that moment. It was really a fun one. And so that was pretty much it for the plays in the Air Force game. And Duke, unfortunately, the first play I made in that game was probably one of the top 3 worst feelings I've ever had. On this play, you'll see the returner kind of catches the ball and he slips and he goes down, and it was kind of like borderline if you put a knee down, but he starts to come up, and that's when I kind of went into my initial kind of diving into him phase. And there was no whistles up to that point. There were no whistles until after I hit him. And unfortunately, as you'll see, after the whistles are blown, it starts to rain yellow flags. And again, like I said, it was probably one of the worst feelings I've ever had top 2 worst feelings I've ever had at Notre Dame. And I'll never forget, like I said, because you'll see Joe Brock comes running over to one of the refs. There were no whistles, and I've always been taught my entire life, you play to the whistle. And as I saw that guy trying to get up, it was just like, you know what, I'm going to take my shot because they haven't blown the whistle, and unfortunately, that ended up backfiring on me. On the next play I'm going to show you guys, it's a punt that goes over Moss' head, and this is kind of just a random funny one. But so the ball goes over Moss' head, and he has the moxie to kind of sidestep someone and get the ball kicked. And so it's rolling. And one of the things I always thought about when a ball's rolling, why not try to give it an extra little tap with your foot? Because as you know, football's a game of inches. So if I can get an extra yard by just kind of subtly giving it an extra knock as it comes to a stop, that might be huge for us. And so I do that. I pretend like I'm going to pick up the ball, and I slowly tap with my right foot. And unfortunately, the ref did not like that idea, and he said in not so friendly in terms that I should probably never do that again. And I remember walking away from that being like, Mike, you got to get your head on straight. You can't be trying to get these little things on there. But the Duke game was also the first opportunity I had to be on kickoff. They finally gave me a shot, and I was playing the contain guy on the left of the screen. And you'll see that the play I included, I didn't make any plays, any real tackles in the Duke game, but I included the first play I ever ran down on kickoff for Notre Dame, and was a nice welcome to kickoff. I beat my guy who was supposed to block me, and there was a D tackle on the wedge who came in kind of as I was trying to go across his face, just welcomed me to kickoff, as I said. So I hope you guys enjoy that one. And then finally, the Stanford game. And this Stanford game included, again, couple good things, couple bad things. And so the first two plays are, well, it's the second and I believe third kickoff or punts were unfortunately the bad ones. So on this first punt that I'm showing you guys, you'll see that I'm running towards the return, and one of the hardest things as a gunner is always to time up, when you're going to be at full speed to really get a hit into the guy. And so I was going, and I saw the guy kind of slowing down, and I just didn't understand why he wasn't fair catching the ball. So I'm trying to hit the brakes, but also keep my momentum so that I can lay into him as soon as he catches the ball, and I end up going just past him, and the ball actually ends up almost popping off his shoulder, but I'll never forget running over to the sideline, and Coach Brown go, "Mike, what are you doing? Why are you running past guys?" And I just shaking my head, just being like, "Coach, I was trying to time up a big hit." And he's just, "Mike, you can't do that." And so that was unfortunately, it could have been a good thing, but unfortunately turned out to be a negative, as I said. And then the next play was similar to the one I talked about in the USC game, where the ball's bouncing on the ground, so the vicer who's guarding me has no idea where the ball is at. So as soon as I see the returner, you'll see from the end zone camera, start waving his arms, and they usually yell fire to say that they're not going to return the ball. That's immediately when I latch onto my guy and hoping for the ball to kick a little bit left and bounce into him. So I start to push him some, and unfortunately that gives him an opportunity to lock onto me and to hold me. And so the ball actually ends up hitting a perfect bounce right into the returner's arms, and I can't, the guy's holding on to me, so I can't really shed him. And I lost all momentum, so that didn't help the cause. So again, that was another play where I was just like, why did, I gotta just make that play, just get him down and not try to make too big of a play. But then later in that game, I finally made my first tackle on kickoff. It was a backside. I come off the edge, you'll see. And kind of one of the things I patented it in my senior year. I came from the left in this play, but all senior year I was the right. And senior year it was nice because they moved me from, we changed the kickoff around to make those guys, instead of being contained players, we had what we called headhunters. And so they gave me the opportunity to be a headhunter all year, and that's why you saw I got to turn it loose a little bit more and have some fun, as you'll see in the highlights that I included. And finally, the last play I'm going to talk about for the Stanford game was probably one of the funniest pictures that I received later from my brother. Always looked online to see pictures, and he sent me this one. It's literally, I'm coming down the sideline again, we're punting into the one area, so I release outside. They were double teaming me, but I could stay outside because I knew we were going to try to pin him into the corner. And it worked out perfectly. It was a great punt by Most, and the guy catches it, and I timed it perfectly to hit him. And you'll see in the background, I'll include the picture, where I have the guy's leg wrapped, and there's the cheerleader in the background with just an open mouth look, just kind of gasping at what just happened. It was the funniest thing I've seen of the pictures that have been taken of me. And so that kind of concludes the Stanford game and concludes the blog. So as I said, I hope you guys have enjoyed this. It's been fun, and I hope we can raise some money for St. Baldrick's. So again, thank you guys very much. I really appreciate all the support the fans have given me. It's, as I've said before, there's one thing to play in front of 80,000 fans. There's another thing to play in front of 80,000 Notre Dame fans. So again, thank you guys very much for all the memories, and hope you've enjoyed this. Take care.